Welcome to the Soul Different podcast, where two generations of women come together to talk all things parenting, health, business, and overcoming life's challenges. I'm Devon. I'm here with my amazing daughter, Zeyanna Monet, and we're on a mission to break barriers, rebuild the family unit as the cornerstone of success, and elevate our culture by sharing our stories and strategies for thriving together. Whether you're a mother, daughter, or both, we're here to inspire and empower you to nurture your health, grow your business, and build a legacy that moves us all forward. Let's dive into the conversation.
Well. Good evening, Mother.
Good
Welcome
evening,
to
daughter.
the first episode of the Soul Different podcast, hosted by myself, Zeyanna Monet, and my lovely mother.
Devon Calloway.
Yes, and we're here
Devon
tonight
Calloway.
shooting our very first episode of the Soul Different podcast. So we're going to start off with our affirmation. So every episode, we're going to start off with an affirmation together. So you ready, Ma? Ready?
I'm ready.
All right.
Let's go.
1, 2, 3. Deuces?
3.
Oh, okay.
What's a 3?
All right, ready? Let's start over. Ready? 1, 2, 3. I am powerful.
I am powerful.
You are powerful.
You are powerful.
And we
We
are
are
powerful.
powerful.
All right. So that was good.
I think power is a good word too.
Power?
Power. Yeah, I think
Yes.
that's a great way to start this off.
Start this off.
Yes.
Because we are powerful and we have a legacy that we want to share with, our family and friends and our new family and friends that will be joining us along this journey.
Yes.
So
Yes, that'd be awesome.
this episode is called Mothers, Daughters, and Dreams. So we're dreamers. We've always been dreamers and visionaries and creatives and all of the things underneath the sun. We just always want to do something, right?
Always.
Here we are today, and I'm super excited. This has been a vision of mine for a very, very, very long time.
Too long.
Yeah, I would say probably like around COVID, I came up with the idea of starting a podcast.
I was gonna say just by yourself.
Yes, originally
Alone, yeah.
I was gonna solo dolo it, but my mother and I have always been together, lived together as well, I should say. So there were some days where I would come downstairs on my way out the door for work or coaching, playing football, whatever I would be doing, and we would just have a pretty inspiring conversation. And I would say, you know what? I feel like people would love to hear this, the things that we talk about. And I also feel that it could empower other mothers and daughters and
That's the goal.
kind of just getting back to family dynamics and the connections that make us strong and make us who we are. And I personally wouldn't be the woman I am today without not just you, but the village that you surrounded me with as well. So
Yeah.
that's a bit of the purpose of the Soul Different podcast, but we're hoping to grow, and we're just gonna let God lead the way at this point. So that's kind of my purpose and my vision for this idea. Would you like to add something to that?
Not so much as add, but it's been a journey,
Yes.
and which is typical of most family dynamics, never mind just mother and daughter. I think to be able to have the opportunity to document it with words, with other families, other relationships, I think being able to document it's a good season for that.
Yeah.
So thank you, YouTube.
Yeah. Listen, we're not limiting ourselves to just one platform.
We're
now.
not? Okay.
No.
All right. Well, okay. This is the beginning.
Go big or go home.
Go hard or go home.
Go hard or go home too.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
So
go hard or
I
go
would
home.
also like to start with us sharing our personal life philosophies. So just something that we personally we lead with, everything that we do, like that's our makeup, that's our DNA, that's just standard. When you come across Miss Devon Calloway or Zeyanna Monet, you know that this is exactly what you're gonna get from them. And I can start. One of my personal philosophies is people never forget how you made them feel. They'll always forget what you've done for them. You can give them money, buy them gifts, do the most for a person, but they will never forget how you've made them feel. And I
Can I
begin,
interject?
yes.
Because I remember a family member also used to lead with that same philosophy. So was when you call it personal, do you remember that a family member always asked us to do that?
No,
No?
no,
Okay.
I don't.
Okay.
I can say it developed for me when I lost my best friend, and we'll get more into that. And I just remember
Wow.
the impact that he had on so many different people just based upon how he made them feel. He
Yeah.
wasn't doing anything specifically for them, but it was just how he made them feel. And at the end of the day, when, when God calls us home, that's what people talk about. They talk about those moments that
The
they
dash.
felt.
The dash.
The dash,
Yeah.
yes, the in
The
between,
in between.
right?
Yeah.
The sunrise and the sunset. What you
Yeah.
do in between that time, and how you make people feel. And I think we embody that because we've definitely been through a lot. I wouldn't say it's any different. Like you said, most families have their a lot, right? Where
Definitely.
they can speak about their experiences. And but I just feel like we've never made people on the outside feel what we were feeling on the inside, right? We
Yeah, I could
still
agree
went
with that.
to family functions. You would come to all my football games, support me. Even when I was hurt, not playing, we would still go and support, and people just wouldn't know internally the battles that we had
Yeah.
at home, on good old 39, So
She
that's
loves sports, by the way. My gosh.
I'm a
Well, we're
baller.
a sports family.
I'm a
I think.
baller.
Yeah.
Shot caller.
You're an ESPN watcher.
Yes, I wake up and watch ESPN.
Yeah, biography. You love
Yeah,
everything conversational,
yeah,
life around that.
for sure.
Yeah,
I would
around
agree.
sports.
So yeah, that's my personal philosophy. Just
Is that why you
treat.
chose to wear Bruins t-shirt today?
No, I chose to wear this because, as I mentioned, if I would have taken 5 more minutes to decide what I was going to wear, we would have been late. And I
It,
didn't want to be late. I wanted to be on time. So
we were definitely on time.
yeah,
But I think it's fit for. I know soon. I think we can maybe even talk about how that can fit into a certain theme of some sort. When you
yeah,
mentioned earlier about the conversation of being black in Boston
yeah,
was, something that we've talked a lot about.
yeah.
Just,
We're gonna get
how
into
it,
that
yeah,
too
how
a
we
little
bring
bit
them
today.
a little bit. Okay,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
that should be fun.
Yeah.
That should
And
be
you
fun.
know, I think, I don't want to say you're the queen, but I think you represent the city well. So,
I try. I
but
try. It's a good
why
time. It's a
do
good
you
time.
have a personal philosophy that you would want to share, or just something that you kind of
It's yeah. Philosophy personal. I think a lot about just what's been ingrained from the women, the queens that went before me. Some of them are still here, some are not. But what they instilled, if you want to call that a personal philosophy,
it's whatever you want it to be.
yeah, it's because I think about it being personal because now I can't change it.
Yeah.
Like, those things that I think back. I know recently we talked about, on a different platform, the Kool-Aid cups. Like, I think about how that season of, you know, my mom bringing me to Alabama and allowing me to have that experience every summer, and to know that something in that was either DNA, why I feel now, just being an entrepreneur, being driven, did it come from that? Would that be a personal philosophy? I think yes, because I can't change it. It's nothing.
It's your DNA.
It's in the DNA, how it was put there.
Not just the sugar. The sugar
Well,
isn't the only thing in
the
our
sugar
DNA.
was definitely
The
in
grind, the entrepreneurship, the grace, the faithfulness.
all of those things and more. I realized just it's who I am. And if that's DNA, if that's personal philosophy, I just believe the journey we're on now, how I made that personal was, get up, do something different while you still have the grace, the drive, while you still have all those things,
Right.
no matter what else was going on, pick yourself up,
Yeah.
and do something different.
Right.
Do something different.
Right.
And embrace it and enjoy it and smile through it.
Yeah.
And if those are personal philosophies, I
Embrace
realize
it,
now,
smile through it. Those are
embrace
personal
it. Yeah,
philosophies.
embrace it. Smile through it.
Yeah.
And just know that it's God just ordering our steps, which is what I've always asked.
I can say one thing about my mother is, and I don't share these things often, I'm not always as, gushy sometimes, but just your grace is something that I admire, because I'm half you and half my daddy. He's the grasshopper. So I realize that I don't always have as much grace as I would like to in certain situations, but I know that's something you always try to remind me, like.
And what does grace look like in your eyes?
Forgiveness.
What would be an example? Okay.
I think that's the first thing is forgiveness, and taking it easy on people. I know sometimes I just get so passionate about people that I care about, that I feel like they should do things a certain way or not a certain way. And that sometimes blurs my opportunity to give them grace. And outside of that, I would just say how you carry yourself when you're in a room, when you're, no matter who you're around, like you said, you're smiling through it, you're embracing it. I would say outside of that one time last year when you ran onto the court when my little brother was playing basketball. I've never seen that done before. That was a first. Outside of that time, you have been extremely graceful through everything, even in moments where like you really didn't have to be, but you chose to just kind of
supposed to cry,
walk on water, so no tears,
no tears.
So that's something that I definitely have admired about you growing up, and just kind of once I became a woman and I reached certain age numbers and I'm like, oh wow, my mother was going through this at this age, and some people wouldn't even know it, and she didn't make me feel it, so I honored that by not wanting you to feel certain things, and that's why I behaved myself in school most of the time.
You had grace.
I behaved myself in school. I wasn't, really outside of a handful of times. I was typically where you knew I was, there weren't too many, and I just knew that was important.
Yes.
And I walked outside with that. So that's kind of how your makeup and your DNA has kind of made me who I am today.
Yeah,
Zeyanna Monet.
Zeyanna Monet.
Yeah.
That's and what if that is, true as far as DNA? What if even like you said, your DNA, your genetic code is, if there's some way that's already designed in us, ingrained, designed, what if that's a real thing? Because then, like how I feel now is I can't help it. Like I'm only who I know to be. and not sure if that came from, you know, picking out whether you wanted a nickel, dime, or quarter cup Kool-Aid.
Right.
I just, we don't know, but we do know we have an opportunity to leave this planet with what you decide is your makeup.
Right.
Personal philosophy, your DNA, your genetic code.
Right.
You have a choice to do that in each moment. And by the way, when I ran on the court, it had more to do with protecting
Let me just tell y'all.
No, it was
we were in a area that we could have all been in handcuffs. And at that point I had to walk away because I'm like, if my mother's in handcuffs, I'm gonna have to be in handcuffs too. Like, there's no way she's going and I'm not. Like, that's just not it.
It was definitely, the first thought was to serve and protect. So both of my parents,
not a police officer.
Both of my parents were police officers, both of them. I was raised to serve and protect community. All those things played a role in my genetic makeup.
That
was a moment that I just wanted to protect and serve.
But it's funny because that came to my mind. Like, that's the first time I ever seen you.
Well, and I ran track. So it was, I think I got on the court in all of 1.8 seconds out of the, just, my 50-yard dash days.
Yeah. And they were like, get her out of here.
They did.
I was like, oh my God.
They did want me
We're
out
going
of
to
there.
jail today. We're going to jail.
But we were all safe.
They actually ended the game because it got a little crazy. But that's how passionate we are about our sports.
Yes.
So speaking of sports,
well, we hung out in the Final Four yesterday.
We did. We went to San Antonio
to be at the Final Four.
Yeah.
And how many Final Fours was that for you?
That was my third one.
Third, okay.
Yeah, I went to one as a kid.
Yes.
I was in 8th grade, I think, and it was in Boston.
Do you remember who you met for the first time at that first women's Final Four?
Candace Parker. And I gave her my autograph.
You did. She did.
I did.
See, DNA. Most people would have never done that. But I think we had a great conversation about even how how it came about, because we ended up at the game.
Yeah.
So it led to us having a whole conversation around, how did we word it? It was the conversation about manifesting things that we speak into existence.
Right. And how it just fell into our lap.
Right. We took one step,
right,
and another step, which led us to
the lady being
saying, "Oh, guess
I got
what?
tickets.
I have tickets. Would you all like to come to the game?"
We were in the nosebleeds, but it was nice because it was really a good game. I think Maryland and North Carolina. Maryland won at it was like a buzzer beater.
Yeah,
I think Christy Tolliver, I think was her name. Fact check me, and as soon as I get, from this seat, I'm gonna look. But she was really good. Yeah, Ivy Latta was my favorite.
Your favorite player, and you and even how that came about, because you literally had just started watching college women's basketball, and then the next thing you know, you're standing in front of her getting an autograph. I think that was so dope.
I still have those. I told you I still have those.
Yeah, you still have them. Yeah,
at good old 39. Yeah, I know. I wonder where she is these days.
Yes,
give me a call, Ivory. Let's go shoot some hoops. But I was going to say, speaking of sports, we are Boston fans.
Yes,
through and through.
Yes,
Red Sox. I mean, Bruins. I'm gonna be honest, I never even been to a Bruins game. It's just kind of not our makeup, but Patriots, not so much anymore, because we don't even know who's playing out there. But Brady, I grew up in the Brady era.
All the championships.
I've got to witness every single one of his Super Bowl winnings. So that's something not too many people can say that, but
not too many.
Yeah. Parades.
Shout out to
We've been
Boston.
to many parades, but I would love to kind of dive into growing up, you just mentioned it, growing up Black in Boston, right? Like, if you go too many places in the world. You know, we haven't really been world travelers just yet, but we travel a decent amount, right?
We do.
And I know when I first started traveling, and you get there's black people in Boston. You know, a lot of people kind of look at you sideways when you say, you know, I'm from Boston. And so, you know, what does that mean to you, kind of being that, you know, like I say, the Bobby Brown tenderoni?
I'm the original candy girl. I know there's a lot of people claiming it, but I was there. And it was not knowing, right? Because when you grew up in Boston, there was a long street, Blue Hill Avenue, and most people you knew who were black lived somewhere along Blue Hill Avenue.
Right.
And but each section along there, if you lived in one section, I guess it's okay to say like Mattapan, if you lived in, and you know, by any means are where, you know, what we're sharing here is the end all be all. But my experience being able to travel Blue Hill Ave growing up with my mom as a little girl, it was each neighborhood changed as far as, you know, if you grew up in Roxbury, you got all the, just everything black from Malcolm X, Walk the Streets.
Right.
Very different experience if you were from Mattapan, you know, and not knowing that, because, you know, your grandmother, my mom, was very involved in the community, and she worked at high schools when segregation was a thing. You know, when my brother went to school, it was but you didn't feel it because you stayed within
those quarters.
You stayed there, and
Right.
that's the houses you went to visit. Those were the cookouts you went to. So not knowing that, and also having parents who traveled down south a lot, the only time we ever really went anywhere was to get in the car,
Yeah.
load up the car with cousins, family members, and, you know, mom would fry some chicken, bologna sandwiches, and you would head down south. So you didn't really know that there was a cultural difference, and because you didn't go to places that you weren't allowed.
Right.
And my father, being your grandpa, being a police officer, we went to a lot of places, but he made sure that we knew, you know, to stay within conversations. I remember we only went to one. It wasn't even a beach. Like Holton's Pond was
yeah.
a man-made pond.
Right.
That started off as, and when it became a pond, it was swimming for a different dynamic of people, different race of people. But so my exposures were limited, but at the same time very broad.
Yeah.
Because my friends, we were all doing the same thing. But you know, that's when, you know, if you grew up in New York, you were, you know, on a block, brownstones and, you know, fire hydrants.
Crooklyn Living. Favorite
Yeah,
movie, by the way.
Those were real things. And we had family in New York, so we would go get on the Greyhound bus and travel to New York. Like, I don't think we ever went as far as that.
Right.
But I remember being scared. Like, Nana would put me on the train, and the train was like crazy. And I'm looking up at her as a little girl, just like, how do you even know, you know, what to do? And we're off on one train on another. So, you know, but shout out to New York, because they had a whole different way of being black.
Yeah.
Right. So I think and beautiful, just the history, a lot of culture, the arts. I just think but your question around Boston, it was just beautiful in a way, because everything you knew happened within a very small length of, you know, just a small area.
Yeah.
And but you could be in Mattapan and never know anyone in Roxbury.
Right.
Or know anyone in Dorchester. And I remember the first time I started traveling to Brockton, I believe it was a friend who had a mother or cousin, someone who lived in Brockton. And we felt like that was like a journey, you know, just getting on 24 and going south. Yeah, shout out to Brockton. But yeah, it was real.
Yeah.
And but I had the pleasure of parents, the benefit who every summer pack your bags, you're going down south.
Yeah.
And I would they'd get me new sneakers, and I come home and they'd be covered in red dirt, getting bit by red ants, pecan trees in the backyard of aunts' homes, but having a grandmother, rest in peace, the queen, Aunt Bet. And we all called her Aunt Bet, but she was not everyone's aunt. Yeah. She was my grandmother, but she was Aunt Bet to everyone. And, I was out in the fields as a little girl, and we cooked everything she grew. And but we fed pigs. There were dogs. I know most of y'all know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's real. But then to leave that and
go back
to the city, where my friends were, already going school shopping, and it was, I wouldn't change it for the world.
Yeah.
It was all the experiences, and you just happened to mention, gotta give my new addition a shout out, my Bobby Brown lovers of the world, because each of us had a one, and Bobby Brown was always my pick. Mike was a little bit, there, because, we had a interaction when they were performing at one of the schools that Nana was working at as a police officer, and me and Mike had a moment. Shout out to Mike Bibbins, but I was only like 8.
Yeah,
I remember
I
taking
can't believe
a cab.
you even remember that.
Because I remember taking a cab from middle school, and it was just crazy. And my principal approved for me to get in this cab by myself. And I want to say I might have been in the 6th grade. And this is the kind of choice.
8 in the 6th grade, Ma.
Which one? Okay, let me see what was first. I remember being like 8 or 9 when we performed in the Maurice Starr talent show.
Okay.
I remember being the youngest of the 4 young women.
Okay.
Shout out to Dazzling Dancers.
She remembers the name.
I will always remember the name
of her dance
Well,
crew?
I mean, how many of y'all out there practiced? We had a record player in the living room, and all we did was practice for the talent show. For the talent show. Thank you, Maurice Starr, for those are the best moments of my life.
I wish they would bring that back. Talent shows.
That would be really cool.
Just
really
kind of
cool.
I remember
really cool.
My cousin, he was a very, very popular dancer in the city, and
yes, he was.
And I just used to enjoy going. He was dancing at every talent show, every show,
Lee School, Strand Theater.
So I feel like I feel like they should bring that back.
I think that generation would probably really thrive in that.
I would hope so.
Yeah, I think they would.
The only thing is they can't get up there gaming and streaming for the the audience. They would have to.
They'll find a way. They'll find a way to make it. That's not Gen X, right? I don't know what's Gen X anymore, but that gaming generation. Yeah, they would find a way. To make it. But yeah, those were the days.
Yeah.
And that's who we became. But yes, there are Black people in Boston.
Yes,
that were raised, and we are who we are because of those. We used to play Red Rover on our street.
Please send
it's a dangerous
somebody
game.
Over.
It's a dangerous game
because
when you came flying through to break,
you would have to.
It was bad, like so many injuries, and we would play until the street lights came on until the wee hours. And I remember my brother and his friends would there was like a tree like trees just like this in an empty lot, and they would take all the green off of the branch,
like the leaves off the
and the game was they would whip each other. Like run, chase each other, hide and go seek. It just, and again, who can relate? The games that we played, it was hopscotch, jacks, double dutch. So we were New York, where you would see it on every block, in Boston, and I'm sure the blocks in New York they would go forever.
Right.
But in Boston, they just didn't expand as wide, but I'm sure, if someone's typing to let us know that what they remember, it was that's what it meant.
Yeah.
That's what it meant, and that's what
Yeah.
it still will always mean to us.
Yeah.
And you're probably going to talk about something very different.
Yeah, I mean, I had a different experience as far as I consider myself a Massachusetts girl,
Okay.
but I do feel like,
Massachusettsian.
right, I do feel like I had the experience of a kid from Boston, just as far as, kite festivals, birthday parties at Chez Vu, eating at Chef Lee's, those experiences are kind of standard for the kid coming up in the city.
We had very few Black-owned restaurants, so the ones that were
Bob the
popping back then
Chef's, Chef
were
Lee's,
the place to be.
Bob the Chef's is where Daryl's Corner is. A lot of people probably, we used to get smothered pork chops from there. I'll never forget that.
When we used to eat pork.
Ate pork. Yeah, we don't do that anymore. But yeah, that part for me, again, different experience, but I still was the outside kid. We definitely spent a lot of time outside.
A lot of time.
Playing
for those
basketball.
Warm months.
Yeah.
Very few warm months.
Right, summertime. So
summertimes in Boston.
I would say I had that experience, and growing up, we lived in Lowell for part of my life, and then we lived in the city for a little while.
And you had two sides, because you didn't share with your audience that you are half Dominicana.
Yes, I am
So
half Dominican.
You got the best of
my daddy.
So we read there
100%.
Shout out to the Dominican women who styled our hair today.
Oh yeah.
And we drove. She's going to always find a Dominican hair salon. We're going to always look for a Dominican restaurant wherever we go.
Yeah.
And
it's my roots. I always say I have the best of all worlds.
You do.
To grow up, with that side, having my dad, be able to speak Spanish 1 second, English 1 second, have my grandparents, right? Spanglish,
right?
And my grandparents, just to have that culture is definitely, like I said, I call it the best of all worlds, because to have my Southern family whom I love, and I've had experiences going to the South. Shout out to Eufaula, Alabama.
Whoa.
I love me some Eufaula. When I go there, I instantly turn into someone that you would think is from Alabama, but I'm not really, but I love it that much. My roots are there, and I have a strong understanding that my roots are in that town, and I walk with a different step when I'm in Eufaula. So I do appreciate that. And then I have the other side of my family that really is from Dorchester. I'm learning so much. My dad has been sharing so many different stories about how my uncles really ran a particular area, and they were known, and he kind of followed in their footsteps, and like what's in his DNA, right, is half of what's also in me. But to have the opportunity to go to Dominican Republic, Santo Domingo, and kind of be there with my grandmother's friends and her brothers that are there now. So that's kind of dope, but we could definitely dive more into that, because this was just kind of like an intro to who we are, our DNA, our makeup, why we're here, and just to bring people together. Yes. That's the goal. It's just to kind of be a breath of fresh air, new energy, different conversations, things that just kind of make us smile and keep us going. And that's kind of why we're here. So to end the show, I would like to do a
is it the end already?
Yes, we're wrapping up. So yeah. You're not supposed to tell people that. What's going on behind the production.
You're not?
It's okay.
All right.
It's okay. That
first time.
Get used to that. She definitely will be putting things on the spot. Like, I don't know how to do that. What do you mean, Zeyanna? Oh my God. So get used to that. But I would love for us to take a moment to give someone in our lives their flowers now while they're here. You spoke about the women in our life who are no longer here, that should be here with us, but we're here representing them and that legacy, and just kind of thinking of people who are here with us right now that we could give our flowers to, while they're here, while they're listening, supporting us. They can kind of hear a little shout out. So would you like me to go first, or would you like to go first?
You can go first.
Okay. Well, my first opportunity to give someone their flowers on our first episode is I'm going to give my flowers to you, because I feel like
You keep wanting to make me cry.
I don't want you to cry,
I know,
woman.
but it's all good. It's all good.
Don't cry. So I want to give my flowers to you just for teaching me unconditional love. And it's kind of at times a blessing and a curse for me, because it's like, I know what it feels like to be loved at home. Okay. I know what it's like to not be my best self, and sometimes, not representing that for you, or, being snappy or moody or whatever I'm dealing with in life. Again, you just always show me unconditional love. The last few years, I've torn 2 ACLs. I've been in, a very bad auto accident that,
Yes.
we'll get into. We'll share these things, how we've overcome them.
Yes.
And I'm not married, so it's not like
Yet,
of course, but
if that's the goal.
that is the goal, of course. So I don't know what I would have done, if I didn't have you there to support me through those times, and I can truly say that, just again, to wrap it up as a whole, because I know I haven't always been my best self, but you have always shown me unwavering love and support, and that truly keeps me going. And then to take it another level, not only that, but you've always just surrounded me with positive and influential women. Like, my village is like, amazing, from my aunts to your friends to, your business partners, like I've been at CEOs' homes with their children and experiencing those different opportunities, the exposure. Those are things that truly have always just unlocked these little doors in my mind to make me just always want to achieve more. No matter what our surroundings were, I just always knew, like, this is just where we are right now, and I know where we're going. So I just want to start off by giving you your flowers, even though, I feel like I do a lot for you. Sometimes I say, you running out of, when you get to the age where you really, really gonna need me, I'm gonna start cutting off years. Like, oh no, I'm gonna be paying. I'm gonna have to pay somebody to take. I'm gonna have to pay for somebody to take care of you when you get there. But thank God you're aging backwards and beautifully. Look at her, people. It's like she's getting younger. She keeps me wanting. I'm like, listen, I gotta lose some weight. Look at my mama. We about the same weight. Hair's getting long. I was looking at you in the chair today, like, dang, what you been doing? But
We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
On another episode.
Yeah, exactly. So yes, I just want to give you your flowers. And I'm truly, truly blessed to have you, because the turmoil that mothers and daughters go through, that I've seen personally in the work that I do.
Yeah.
And if your first bully is at home, you really don't have a fighting chance at life. So you gave me a fighting chance to just be my best self every day that I wake up. So thank you for that, Miss Devon Calloway.
Yeah, I can't believe that she's doing this on air.
We're not on air, Mom.
What is
isn't
it?
A syndicated radio show.
It's this microphone makes me think that it is. And one of the things you mentioned about wanting to do this, because when I found out I was pregnant with you as a freshman in college, I came back to Boston to attend Emerson College, which at the time was known as one of the top journalism schools in the world. I'd had a dream set aside to get the microphone and do something with the voice that was within me. And being a cheerleader in high school, the voice was just always heard. And it just brought this desire to wanting to do more in that arena. And so I feel like now I have to give the flowers to you. After that, like what's the comeback? But I will take it to the Queen, Christine, and I don't know. Everything you just spoke about was all I knew from that woman that I called a mom. And I mean, walking the streets of Boston, helping mayors become mayors, and just watching her move
Yeah.
was, I mean, that she passed, of course, as you know, at the age of 55, and knowing you were about 8.
Yes.
That's the one thing I think about on a daily basis, is how her presence would have mattered greatly in this. And to think, believe, know that we're still making her smile
Yeah.
is just, you are the gift.
Thank you.
Because she didn't understand it. She said, I sent you down south to further your life. And, your dad and I were very close in high school, and we decided to venture down south to go to college together. And you came out of that trip, that long drive down 95 down 95 South, and trust me, those 2 police officers were not happy with me.
I know it.
Shout out to
Reverend Borders.
Reverend Borders.
Because if it wasn't for him, your girl wouldn't be here. Okay.
No, she would not. He had to drive all the way to
Shout out to
very
Morning
long
Star,
Morning
Blue
Star
Hill
Baptist
Ave,
Church,
yes.
Blue Hill Ave.
We have a lot of roots in that church.
Oh yeah. So Christine Calloway was a gift to. She was a gift to this planet, and gone way too soon. And every day was my purpose in life was to continue to make her proud.
Yeah.
And you've done that. And I've done my best to do that. So she will be.
She's getting your flowers.
She's
Nana?
getting my flowers.
In heaven. So
Nana,
her
heavenly
flowers.
Her heavenly flowers.
Absolutely.
Yes,
she's here with us.
She's
okay. So
shining down.
All right.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of concludes what we were going to speak about today. So I'll let you close us out
with
the game you wanted to do.
A play.
Yeah, the play of the week.
Play of the week.
Yes.
Play of the week. So I had the fortunate morning today of spending with some very impressive people. That's what I refer to them as. And we learned about setting ourselves up for just 5 things. 5 things that I can do on a daily basis.
Okay.
To reach a goal.
Okay.
And so that's going to be the play for the week. Is that tomorrow morning I have to make sure that she knows that I have my 5 things in place. So that's my play.
Do you know what they are yet?
Not
you don't
yet.
have to share them.
I didn't. Because when it was
don't
presented,
think too hard.
I won't think too hard. But now I have AAU, I have flights, I have all these things.
You can come up with those 5 things.
Yeah, 5 things to make sure that we make it on the flight.
Yes, you'll make it on the flight.
Morning,
we got
course.
travel AAU basketball this weekend, so
yes,
I think
so
my
exciting.
Play of the week is my baby brother is going to be 16 on Friday. And if you know me, I always have a million adventures and ideas and things that I'm working on personally, from mortgage loan originator license to finding my first fix and flip deal to always something, to this venture here, to managing my property in Ohio. It's always things going on. So I want to bring it back to family. And my play of the week is, one, I have to bring my little brother to T-Mobile to get him his new phone, because he has been on me about it. That's happening this week.
Yay.
And then to just celebrate him. He's been such a trooper through this process. He is my baby, my heart. Like, I just can't imagine life without that little boy. And he's no longer little. He's like 6'2" now. He's my little stinky man, right? So that's my play of the week, is to just get ready to make sure that his birthday is special, we typically always do.
We always do.
That's my play of the week.
Play of the week. All
Yeah, you wanna
right.
bring
I
it
love
in?
it. Bring it in.
No, like, all right, let's say powerful on 3.
1, 2,
2,
3.
3.
Powerful. Yeah, we did it.
Thank you for tuning into the Soul Different podcast, where we soul different and we are so different. We hope today's conversation sparked new ideas, inspiration, and a renewed commitment to building strong families and legacies. Remember, no obstacle is too big when we stand together. Let's keep pushing forward, cultivating our health, building our businesses, and most importantly, strengthening the foundation of family. If you enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, share, and join us next time as we continue to break barriers and elevate our culture. Until then, remember, you are worthy, stay strong, stay connected, and keep building for the future.